Disclaimer. The content presented in this show is intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any individuals or organizations mentioned. Statements made about public figures or entities are based on publicly available information and are not intended to harm or defame any person or business. This show relies on fair use of social media posts, which are presented in good faith for the purpose of commentary and criticism. Viewers and listeners are advised to form their own opinions. Circle back right here on the Circles Off channel, part of the Hammer Betting Network, and presented as always by Underdog. This is the show where we cover the latest and greatest from gambling Twitter. There's always so much to cover that even though we're doing this a day early, we have a day less of content to maybe go over. There is still so much content here. It is a loaded episode for us to go through, and only three of us covering it on today's show. My name is Jacob. I am your host as always. I'm also the producer on the Monday show, but next to me in the middle, we've got Joey Knish. I've also got Chris Dierkes on the right. No Nadu. He pulled a Zilbert. Internet was down. There was nothing he could do about it. He's ducking out of this one, Knish.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm not after last week. Flup needed a week off. He got a little too much in the kitchen for him, and now they do. Hashtag they do. Gone for internet, slow internet, quote unquote. He didn't want to come in, but that's good because you know what? We got a little score to settle on this show anyway between me and Flip Flup over there. So we'll get into it.
First of all, that is complete fake news. I couldn't handle the heat. I had a wedding to go to, and I'm a supportive friend, so I got to show up for my friends. And also, it makes sense that it's only three. When someone as good as me counts for two people, you don't need Isaac or Nadu when I'm here. I mean, I'm basically two people in one.
We should have got Rico Bosco to fill in. I don't know what maybe texted him, see if old one of the riders would fill in. But unfortunately, no Nadu today.
It is what it is. We will move on. We will move forward here. We're doing this a day in advance, by the way, because of the NFL draft. We don't want to have any conflicts with that for the recording, so doing this a day ahead. We'll be back to normal schedule going forward. Just a one-time thing over here. But let's jump into our first topic. This made some heavy news over the last few days. So if you haven't seen, you probably should have seen. April 21st, the Pope sadly passed away, Pope Francis. And for many people, first thoughts are that of grief. First thoughts are that of who's going to be the next pope. For some people, the first thought is, where can I go bet Nick Castellanos to hit a home run? Because Nick Castellanos was the most bet prop of the day, one of the most bet things of the day to hit a home run on April 21st, the day that it happened. And Castellanos has built up this reputation, which all started on August 19th, 2020, when he hit a home run during Tom Brenneman's apology for using an LGBTQ slur. He said the F word that isn't fuck on a hot mic as it came back from commercial, got caught saying it. Then during the game, did an apology for using that word where he basically said, I'm probably not going to be sitting in front of this camera ever again. While he was giving the apology, Nick Castellanos sent a shot into deep left field, and the rest is history. But then led to a string of other events where July 5th, 2021, he homered during a eulogy for a military veteran. And then more and more, these sort of events started popping up for Castellanos. He didn't get a home run, but he had a hit in spring training while the commentators were discussing Blue Jays pitching coach Pete Walker's DUI. He also hit a home run during a heartfelt Memorial Day tribute at Citizens Bank Park in March of 2022. And this led to people kind of fishing for other events in which Castellanos hit maybe ill-timed home runs. They went all the way back to the day Osama bin Laden was killed. And when Castellanos in the minor leagues, he hit a home run on that day. He hit one the same day as the Queen's death, Queen Elizabeth, and many other significant days, such as Trump's assassination. So when Pope Francis, and it came out that he passed away, people flocked because Castellanos tends to have home runs on days like today. David Payne Purdom, at David Purdom, says, Nick Castellanos did not homer tonight. Sportsbooks cleaned up. BetMGM said there were more bets in Castellanos at a home run than there were on any MLB team to win tonight. Rob said, how many people are betting Castellanos Ding Dong tonight? Jeff Benson works with Circa, said he is getting roughly 7 times the bets anyone else in the home run market is getting with us. And Ryan Butler, at Butler Bet, said Nick Castellanos to hit a home run is the most bet MLB prop at DraftKings today. At ESPN Bet, it is the most bet individual player prop across all sports, with more bets than on any individual prop for all NBA and NHL playoff games. Now, we'll start with you, Flup, because lots of people bet on Castellanos home run. I saw this one steam from like plus 750 everywhere, plus 700 everywhere, down to like plus 400, plus 500. But Flup, you had a different way of getting in on the action here.
Yes, I actually took the under. I like to fade the public in a lot of these kind of spots because there's no like logic here. This is just pure coincidence. I'm sure Joey can talk about this, but with rivalry games or like must-win games in college football, there can be actual real movement to a spread, and you can actually see it impact the odds and probabilities. I just don't see how Nick is like, yes, I'm more likely to hit a homer today because the Pope's dead. It doesn't really make any sense to me. So my logic was quite simple. He's priced around 8-1 normally to hit a homer. That's what he opened at. I said, it seems like a fair enough fare to me. And I posted on an exchange under. I laid minus 625, and I thought the fare was minus 800. I'm happy to take as much action as my bankroll permits on that. I was able to get a little bit down and won a little bit there. So that's all I did for me. If someone wants to make the case that there's a boost to him, I would love to hear it because I'm not seeing it.
I will say this is one of those rare. Now, I would say only in the yes/no, but at a book like Circa or on an exchange, we always, like a bunch of people on this channel, have trolled the whole like fading the public, nomenclature over the years. This is one of like the rare scenarios that it actually still has like some benefit here, where if you have a yes/no market on this, like Circa's offering, and they're getting that type of, they're like over levered on one side, you can just get a legitimate plus EV bet, just strictly fading the public here. I can't believe like the legend of this has grown to the point of now like people have just backdated all these dates where he's hit home runs. But
it was just such a big meme when it first happened during the Tom Brenneman thing, the apology. It was just for over a year. It was a huge meme. It's still funny to this day, and that's where the legend has grown.
And now, yeah, right. And now people have gone back and like connected all the dots to all these other past dates, and it get just this like insane amount of handle. I loved. I gotta tip my cap here to before we go head to head on the Flup strategy here of if I had some more liquidity at some no places, I would have done the same thing there.
Well,
I think
you can't even bet because you're in Michigan. I mean, like that's a place.
I know that's the issue. Yeah, but that's the old issue here. But I loved it.
I want to put a little PSA out there. If you ever want to bet on a meme like this, please shop around for the best price. MGM was offering $375, and I was offering $625 on some of the exchanges. So come bet with me, not with MGM or the DraftKings of the world.
Well, that's the other side, is on the places that weren't offering a yes/no. It just people just started lowering the price to like where Castellanos is having the same odds as like Aaron Judge did. And there's no market. They're just like bringing it down.
I'll hold my hands up here and say I had some chump change on the home run to get involved. I did get plus 725, so it wasn't as if I was taking a shitty price.
At least
you can't really value the closing line value of something like that because like it was just steamed so much. The closing line value is kind of irrelevant. But in the end, I got a very, very good price relative to market.
I do want to bring up that, but that's a great point, Jacob, because I'm a big CLV truther. I think CLV matters a lot, but this is the time it doesn't matter. I got a very bad bet according to CLV, and Jacob got a very good bet. no way you're convincing me that my bet was negative expected value.
I'm sure my bet wasn't. I'm sure it was negative EV, but hey, just for a little bit of fun, I was like, you know what, I'll jump in with the crowd. It then grew. Like I had this in the morning, obviously, because it was plus 725. But as the day went on, this became a bigger and bigger story. And then I'm like, okay, now I feel kind of more dumb for doing this, that I'm jumping with the crowd. But it is what it is. For stuff like this, this also reminds me of, this is a soccer reference, so I'm not sure you guys will get this, but there was a soccer player who tended to score goals named Aaron Ramsey. He used to play for Arsenal, Welsh midfielder, who had a tendency to score goals on significant dates like this one. And I think at this point for Castellanos, it's become like we're searching for the coincidences. Like for a while, it was kind of like, okay, this is pretty funny how it just keeps happening, and now we're searching for coincidences that aren't really there. Like you could probably go back to a lot of dates and find a significant death to talk about for Castellanos, but I think it makes for some fun content in the betting space. But yeah, maybe not the most plus EV bets. Do you guys think there's a viable strategy betting Castellanos in days like this? You think you can win money playing something like this?
This is what I was saying before. Like, if there's some logic that you can understand why he performs better, maybe. But like, this is a case where you can't get that logic in rivalry games or like must-win games. You can understand a price boost, but not here. It makes no sense.
So how online do you think Castellanos is? Like, do you think, on a day like that, do you think he's aware of that? Like,
has anybody asked him about it? Like, has he?
I don't know.
Like, hey, like, is that? But I don't follow baseball like super close. So, like, has anybody ever like brought this to him?
Someone surely has to have told him. Like, you're a huge meme. Whenever this happens.
Yeah, right.
I just wonder if he feels like the pressure for that game. All of a sudden, he's like, "Wow, now all eyes are on me for this." I don't know. I hope somebody has asked him, and maybe we can look back later and see something he said. I'm sure he's kind of played it down, like, I don't worry about these things, I just play. But I don't know. I wonder if anything is in there. On the same sort of topic here with the Pope, I know this is a betting show, but hey, we had a tweet from Hayden Goat at Hayden Goat said, August 2019 bet place, almost 6 years later, we're finally live for some action, folks. And it's a quote tweet of his own tweet from a previous tweet in 2023 from a bet he made in 2019 on the next Pope. And it's Cardinal Robert Sarah. I guess I'm not well versed in this, but 3.5 years after that bet, he says, been 3.5 years. Can we get a canceled bet at my bookie? Well, 6 years later, now live for some action here. I kind of wanted to have a conversation on these long-term bets. We know we talk about betting futures. That's like a year you have to wait at most. But how about like this sort of market where you don't even know when it's going to grade? How do you guys feel about betting on stuff like that? Like, Flup, do you ever find yourself in these markets?
Ironically, yes. I do bet on some. I do love betting on some futures, and I don't want to promote right now when we have another sponsor, but Kalshi I was offering like interest. So I've been trying to use that more because I think it really helps if you have a long lockup for like 8 months. That's kind of like something you have to factor. You're losing expected value on your capital because it's being tied up. So it's funny in the comments of that tweet you sent, he talks about that price is much worse now. So he got CLV, or if you want to say it, but like when you have to wait 6 years, like what could that $100 have done? So I think that's something to look into is how much is the capital worth? A bet that's plus 5% expected value, but you have to tie up your money for 8 months. Probably shouldn't even place it, even if you're 100% confident that it's winning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything. I would say the longest hold is just like seasons. Like, even MLB futures sometimes I got to have extra edge for what you're saying because of the long hold. So again, I still do like some college football, stuff like that. But anything where you're getting into multiple years, like, presidential races or any of this, or like this one doesn't even have a hypothetical end date. There's just no, if this guy lived for another 15 years, you're like, what is my bookie still going to be in business in 15 years? So there was I will call it, it's not as prevalent now, but for some time in the offshore world, a lot of places would kind of offer these as, I'm not saying ways to get people to like scam people to tie up their money. Most of it, I think, was just marketing. But similar thing where somebody, put a bet on this and, you might have it pending for, I've told this story on Rob's podcast. Like I had the next James Bond pending when I thought it was going to be Idris Elba, and like I saw it on like TMZ or something, and then Daniel Craig re-upped for like 3 more movies. So it was like 6 years pending. It was like $100 for to win like 1,000 or something. And it's been pending for like 6 years. So
is it still pending now?
Though I honestly think it is still. I have to log in. I think it is still pending because there has still not been another Bond post Daniel Craig. That's still going. So if this bet outlives me, it rhymes with Faze Mason that to give me revoid my bet and give it to my family.
I have seen other markets like which country will aliens invade first?
Yes, that is the one I was thinking of. Yes.
You will literally never get that graded. I don't even know how that works. Maybe there's some rules on like if a bet's been pending for 10 years, they'll just void it. I have no idea, but I'm sure we've all seen the website that does have that one up.
I'll get you back to circle back in just a second, but first, let me tell you about our sponsor, Underdog, one of the smoothest platforms out there for player pick'em. As someone who spent 3 years as a product manager for The Score, I care a lot about recommending platforms that I truly believe in from a product perspective. Underdog's Pick'em is simple, fast, and easy to use. No dealing with complicated odds. Just pick whether a player will go higher or lower than their projection, and you build your entry. And with clean design and zero clutter, the experience is seamless from start to finish. The best part, you control the risk and reward. You can play it safe with a 2-leg entry, or you can go for a big multiplier by stacking up to 5 picks. The choice is entirely yours. And right now, Underdog is offering Circles Off listeners an exclusive deal. When you sign up using promo code CIRCLES, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. That's free bonus money for you to start playing with. If you want a top-tier pick'em experience, make sure you check out Underdog. Link is in the description below. Use code CIRCLES.
We'll move on to some exchange talk here. And this is where we have our
here we go.
pitted against one another. And maybe this is why do want to get in between anything here. But
right and wrong is what we have.
I'll get in the crossfire here. So it all started with this post here from Adam at the NHL Better. Better is in BETTER, saying, honestly, play ProphetX. This is bullshit. It's a screenshot of an email from ProphetX, which says, hello, we are reaching out to let you know that we have had a play canceled in accordance with our too good to be true policy. Your play on the series winner Jets or series winner Avalanche was matched at odds that were clear and obvious error. You can review the policy here with a link. Please let us know if you have any questions. It's a screenshot of Colorado Avalanche series winner Colorado at Dallas minus 139. And true price probably should have True price probably should have been like minus 330, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they already won game 1.
So very much way off, but still, people make mistake bets all the time, and Flup had a lot to say about this. Flup, our very own, quoted by saying, this is an unbelievably horrible policy that opens up a horrible can of worms. I would strongly recommend not playing at profit until this policy is reversed. I had no idea this was in place. I'll be withdrawing all funds and refusing to play until this policy is gone. Well, guess who that alerted? None other than Joey Knish sitting with us as well. Knish replied, wrong. You need some type of policy in place to prevent scammers from spamming bad lines and hoping somebody fills it. He bet an obvious pout will always be some level of subjectivity, but the policy needs to exist, and you won't be withdrawing anything, and we'll still use the platform. Chris, did you actually withdraw all your money?
I did initiate the withdrawal, and then they got a resolution. And they got a resolution, and I canceled.
Okay. So here, but you were going to do it. You were going to do it. This is where the resolution occurred. It was actually on the Elf Spaces. First time in a while, maybe some positivity has come out of these Elf Spaces, as Jeffrey Benson also alludes to here. This was the best Elf Spaces in quite some time, actually talking through issues in the industry with people who have an ounce of common sense was very refreshing. And in the end, Flup, you did withdraw your statement. You learned maybe more information about it and decided that they were in the right all along. So what was it about the spaces that changed your mind on this topic?
Mainly Alex Kane. Alex Kane succinctly was able to explain why you need the policy in place. And for what it's worth, I still think it's close, and I understand if you disagree with it. It's not like black and white. Maybe Joey thinks it's black and white. But the reason that he went through was with these market makers, which are very crucial to exchanges because they provide a lot of liquidity. They get data from like data providers, and they're not 100% perfect. You know, people could say, oh, get a better data provider. There's only a certain amount of options, and it can never be perfect. What are you supposed to do? Send players to, or send like people to all the different games to get all the live odds and update like that? You can't do that. So you have to use some data providers, and they're not perfect. And if they make mistakes, it can open up the market makers to a ton of negative EV bets, and they don't want that because they're not even trying to free roll anyone. They're not acting in a scummy manner. They're just trying to provide a lot of liquidity and have a very tight market. And if you don't have this void policy and leave it open to subjectivity, then the market makers don't want to operate. And if they don't want to operate, you see an exchange with not a lot of liquidity. And if it doesn't have a lot of liquidity, most people want to take orders. They don't want to make orders. And no one wants to play on the exchange, and the whole model falls apart. So this is why, unfortunately, you need it. You can make the argument that, hey, maybe the market maker should take the L. They make so much money already. But I brought up another point, which is think about a sports book. Most of the lines are accurate. We as bettors find the 1% of bets that are inaccurate, and we pound them for it.
What about you, Knish? Well, what was it about the initial statement that you felt as though this was the right side to be on all along?
Jacob, turn this mic up, put the camera on me. Listen, Alex Kane might as well be another word for Joey Knish. And I have this on great authority of what actually happened is that once he saw that response, Joey K put him in the dirt. And he's taught him a lesson of how the business actually works. And listen, Flup likes to use a lot of words, tweets a lot of words, says a lot of words. I just don't listen to any of it. It's Joey K came at him. He set him straight. And now a couple days later, I'm glad he's not still, some people don't have the humility to, double down, triple down on that. And again, his reasoning here might not be the real truth, but we finally got him straight, and eventually he got to the correct solution.
All right, this is ridiculous, Joey. I know similar to you move people. I know how you bet similarly. If you're scrolling on DraftKings and you see a palp, are you just not hitting it and going, oh, poor DraftKings, let me not click it? And if I know you're clicking that palp and I know you're complaining if they void it, don't give me this.
Maybe an old Joey K, but a reformed, a man of God, Joey K, that believes in the power of the business. No, you know what? Always down the middle, honorable.
This is still a little confusing to me because, like, if somebody posts convince me, like, I'm open to understanding this side of it, but to me, if somebody posts a bad line, that's their fault. If I make a bad bet, that's on me. If somebody makes a bad bet and I take advantage, like, what's wrong with that?
This is why it needs to be subjective. It really depends. Like, take the Castellanos bet. If I had placed under Homer at minus 6,250 instead of minus 625, I would expect that bet to be voided because I did not mean to lay 62.5 to 1 on him to hit a homer, and that liquidity would have been gobbled up in a matter of seconds. So for something like that, you understand where they're coming from. It's clear what happened. If I placed it like at minus 1,000 because I thought it was so unlikely, even though it's significantly off market, probably shouldn't be voided. And this is why you need some subjectivity. But I understand where you're coming from. It's an exchange, and what if you had arbed out? Now you're screwed because you thought you had a good bet.
That's where we might even disagree. Is, to me, if you're taking, and I believe this strongly. I ran into this when I was doing some promo for another book over at Bet 105, where guys were betting some mistake lines, but then they were arbing it out. And once your actual bad line gets voided, now you're underwater. I think I understand where you're coming from, and that, to me, if you're taking an obvious pulp, a line that you know is wrong and has some percentage of risk that it could be voided, you can't arb it out. You got. I'm not one that's like to arb out anyway at this point in my career, but if you're taking something that's obviously off market, obviously wrong, you should not be going to another book and then arbing it out.
So this is
at risk for the void.
So I think you're coming from a place of experience,
intelligence,
but like maybe, yes, also true. But if I'm a new bettor that's been betting for a month, I just signed up to exchange like a Prophet or a Novig or a Sports Trade, and I see a bet like this, I have no idea that this rule is in place. I have no idea. I don't have the decades of Joey Knish wisdom. I mean, I don't know how old you are, like 60 or something, but I don't know that this is live to get voided. I could totally be like, wow, this bet is so good. Let me bet a lot here, and then realize, well, maybe I overbet too much. I should arb out a little bit and take a little off, and have no idea. I think this is a totally realistic scenario with how many new people are entering the space all the time. So obviously someone like you and me, we should know better.
Let me say from my perspective, because when I first started betting, like, actually knowing what I was doing 3 years ago, it was like right when legalization hit Ontario, and there was so many books that entered market that were giving out these outrageous sign-up bonuses to compete with one another. I did not have, this is my first job. I didn't have the money to maximize these bonuses properly. So my strategy some of the time was to play these bonuses against one another, so that I would just, at least I can guarantee I'm getting at least one of these bonuses in full. Because I just didn't have, obviously if I could go back, like that's one of my biggest regrets. I could have built my bankroll significantly more playing it properly, but I just didn't have the liquidity to do that. So without that understanding from myself, I could have been in this position as well, arbing. Now, knowing what I know, obviously, I've had bets canceled in the past. I know this is a possibility, but I can see from your perspective there. I would say maybe like in the house rules in some places, like you can't arb. So if you get stiffed by doing that, that's kind of on you. But there's also places like Bet 105 that welcome when you use their platform to arb, and that's where it gets a little bit more tricky for me. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, Flup, where it's just. It's tough on both sides. There's a lot of pros and cons on each side.
So, another thing that made me change my mind and whatnot is I think Prophet handled it in a good way. Right. I wish they did this initially, but they did it at the end. They're not like the morons at PropSwap who double down. They decided to pay out the expected value of the palp, and they voided it. So the person that placed the mistake line doesn't get it, and they themselves took the loss. I think that's a fair and the right thing to do. Yeah. And what I would also go further on is if those users, Adam, the NHL bettor, if he ever bets another palp again, he's not getting his EV. And on top of that, I would probably say he's not using Prophet anymore, because he should know at this point that you don't take the palps because they get voided. And this is a one-time policy. And that's what I would recommend these exchanges do moving forward, which is, if as long as the loss isn't too massive that it would be detrimental to the company, pay it out and tell them, hey, maybe they didn't know, maybe they're new bettor. We don't take these palps. Explain why is a problem. Pay out the expected value. That way, no one gets into any trouble, and then we can move on.
Yeah, they handled it very well, and I think you as well. I'll commend you. Handled it very well to hourly say, I've convinced the other side. I was wrong about it. Not a lot of people would do that. So
I just want to make something very clear. Joey K had nothing to do with
No.
He had nothing to do with it.
Planted the seed where you started getting a little bit. Oh wait, maybe I am wrong here, and then eventually you landed on the right side of the fence.
I've got to listen to his idiotic takes and circle back all the time. If anything, it made me more convinced I was right until Alex Kane came in.
Well, I'm sure Knish will have a lot to say about this topic here. We're moving on to Lee Corso retiring. This sparked a story from Twitter user Johnny Detroit at Johnny_Detroit, who said, "True story. Back in the day when the offshore sportsbook 5 Dimes was around, they used to have a prop bet where you could bet what hat for the big game Corso would put on during game day on Saturday. We had a guy that worked for the crew, and so the spot could be planned and coordinated. He had to tell them on Thursday. He used to tell us as soon as he found out. We had a small circle who was involved, and of course, it was do not tell anyone. Do not tell anyone, as usually turns into telling someone that, and then them telling somebody else. About a month or so into the season, you would see Corso prop like Alabama minus 150 and Auburn plus 120. We find out within 15 minutes the odds would be at like Alabama minus 2,500. That prop was short-lived on 5 Dimes. Enjoy retirement, Corso. Was a pleasure to watch you, sir." Okay, I don't know a lot of the backstory here, but Knish, I'm told, may have some thoughts on this.
Well, one, this guy lives I don't know, I know he lives around the area 15 minutes from me, and he's been involved with Wager Talk since the jump. So I know him and I'll save those thoughts for another day. On this, I remember this thoroughly, of where it got out. I don't even buy it that it was one of his guys. I think it was somebody else, and then it was feeding them the info. So I know he wants to sound like he was the ringleader here. I don't think that was the case, but I recall this, sir, where every week on 5 Dimes you would have maybe 10 or 15 minutes, the word would get out and get dropped on. I don't even know if Telegram was around. I think I was using maybe text message or something, or a carrier pigeon if I get it back when this was happening. And the word would get around, and then it would steam to minus 5,000, minus 50. Now, granted, at 5, I think the limit on these was maybe it started out as $100, and within a week or two it was $25 or something like that. So the grandiose scam here that this was you were making more than a few $100s off this was a little bit overstated, but also is a great way for Tony to hack your account and then be betting 10 cents or whatever you get after that. So. Yeah, good story, but I hate to, rain on the parade a little bit. If it was Joey K's story, I would gloss it up much more and, say it was but for the kid, the actual king of Detroit, Joey K, this is, I got to poke a few holes through this.
So I was going to ask why they would even leave this market up if they knew people were just going to smash it every Thursday or whatever it was. But then you kind of brought up the point, would a sportsbook leave this sort of market up to find the people?
Yes.
To send those big limits?
You know exactly where you're going with it. It's to then find, if you bet this, then it was basically like a trap out there where Tony's
right.
laying, it's laying a little sucker, a little bait out there for the sucker to come and grab it after it's up. And then if you're betting the right side on that for 2 weeks, you've got a circle of information. You're probably in a sharp circle. We got to cut this guy's account. So, yeah. And I wouldn't say that at that was one of the rare bookmakers and one of the rare books that I would say, I'm not Pizzola would think this has happened at every book in the history of the world. One of the rare instances where I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's actually what was happening there, was why they left that up.
Tony was the lead trader at 5 Dimes at the time, right?
Yeah. Actually, the owner.
For our audience that isn't familiar.
Isn't as old as me, and yes,
isn't as well versed. We'll say.
Get that great. Yes, appreciate that.
We can anything for you, Flup? Yeah.
Yeah. This makes me think about the NFL draft odds, and it's why do books have this information markets up. I understand the point of like you could limit customers and whatnot, but why does like a book like Circa, who doesn't limit customers in that regard, have these information markets up? All they do is get killed on them because they're all information based and they can't possibly compete with the information of the bettors. I don't understand why they have them open. I mean, Joe, do you understand why? I would love to hear your thoughts there.
So a little inside one, from a little birdie told me that Circa actually, they had to have 2 people on it full time last year. They actually didn't lose on the draft last year,
wow.
but it took, I mean, the ROI involved for that to happen was obviously not worth it. And so I think you've seen them this year just offer, $300 limits, raise the juice in that. I think there's an element of, you kind of want to keep your GRP pancakes guys happy. Of your rec player that wants to score a little on the draft. You allow them to get a little appetite. Unfortunately, Jacob's going to have to. He's going to be eating, apple pancakes and sausage or whatever it is for losing the contest.
I don't know what it is. Banana and marinara have been floated around as my meal. Banana and maple syrup has also been pitched as my meal. I don't know what it is yet. Yeah, whatever it has to be. I go ahead.
I honestly, I had thought about. I had actually talked with offshore once about like thinking like, hey, I'll trade the draft. Like, pay me a consulting fee. I'll trade the draft. Me and a couple people over the course of it.
You learned
never materialized, but
you learned the side that you want to play somewhere else.
It really wasn't that. I would be more apt to do it now that the draft isn't as liquid and as profitable as it used to be for me, just to try it out. But yeah, it's I will say, I think there's some element of you kind of people feel like they have to have it, but the offerings and the liquidity is a lot different than it used to be.
Maybe it's just like a loss leader. It's in a way like a promotional tool.
I think
people make money
and like that.
Are there for like, you crush the draft, you're going to put that money back in. And if Circa is confident in their prices, the money that's going to be filtered back in is going to equate to that player losing more money than they would have had they not offered the draft props to begin with. Is
that's
that
totally
a valid reason?
That seems like a very valid explanation. I don't know. It's actually a more complicated question than I think people realize. And I'm sure people a lot smarter than me have already figured it out, and there's a reason why they have it up. But
we have,
maybe it's just bad PR. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I wouldn't know, so maybe I'm not the right guy to say on this. But let's go to the comments here. 3 pretty good ones here from. Well, actually, I'd say 2 good. This one sucks. This is a really bad first one up. This is from Simone Hunter making another appearance on the show.
Simone and his brother Simon, 2 of my favorite people.
Joey K with the best football and gossip show. Is this the Hammer Network or the Joey K Network?
I tell you what, Simone, you better have Moretto pay up with the new contract, or there's going to be or Joey K is going to be, it's going to be me and Simon. It's going to be the football bro. It's going to be me, Millman, and Simon Hunter talking about how Pizzola used to win at hockey, and now he can't. Now he has to run a content network because he can't have it anymore. So, yeah, I tell you what, Simone, I appreciate it. You nailed it, and let's just say you relay that to my agent because it's going to be a little wealthier fall for Joey K.
These comments with the insane glaze, these are just ridiculous. Is Simone Hunter like your burner, Joey? I mean, what's that?
I tell you, Simone Hunter, I don't hate it as far as a burner. If he, tell you what, if this guy starts getting in, Rob's comments like Zilbert and letting him have it, I'll glaze Simone right back.
I do hate. Like, it's not a hate, it's like a cringe thing when somebody calls it a gossip show. It just, I don't know. Maybe it's like sarcastic.
It is a gossip show.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, when I hear the word gossip, I think about, the girls at the high school cafeteria table. I don't know. I feel like it just very incredibly diminishes the show on the outside looking. I don't know. You guys seem fine with it, so maybe.
Listen, put the start texting one of your girls at the high school table here that create some drama. So I got no issue with it.
It is what it is. People like to watch, so we keep doing it. All right, at Pesty Coach, the second comment here says, I stay out of the Twitter space, but everything I've heard about Manda Library is that he is a complete clown. Knish, you're very vocal about agreeing with this. Anything to add?
I mean, I would say if you follow, the one thing that you should be totally certain of about Man of the Library, if you follow these spaces for the last month, is that he's flat broke. And I mean, just like maybe if you're going at 3 a.m. or you're like a single parent and you're going to get your ass beat by some 21-year-old kid for $1,500 at midnight Vegas time or whatever it was, I don't think you got a pot to piss in. And so listen, whether he's like selling plays or he used to be a poker player, I don't even know. Like I don't even make a living here. So yes, I strongly agree. Double tap like that comment that you want to call him a complete clown. Yes. And so it's all a grandiose scheme of bullshit. Everything he said for like since he's been around has been absolute bullshit. And I think the guy, $1,500, what is his net worth right now? Probably $1,500 minus whatever he spent already from it.
Like I said last week, it's not about the amount of money. It's just the amount of money he claims to have, the amount of money he claims to bet.
Right.
You would think he wouldn't even like take a second look at $1,500.
I'm a black belt, and then all of a sudden I'm in the corner getting tuned up by a 20-year-old Jewish kid. So I mean,
they had different headgear. That's why.
That was that was it. That was the difference.
Yeah. Flup, you're in the spaces a lot. Anything to add on Man of the Library?
I mean, I think Joey's read is spot on. This is one of the few times where I think Joey's correct. I would agree with him. But I will say I don't think he's that broke. Like, I bet his net worth is higher than $1,500. I mean, he does have like the winnable that's got money coming in. But I think, like you said, that was such a mismatch. I mean, you look at the two people next to each other, who's going to get an ass beating. And if your number is 1,500, how rich can you really be? Right. Like, look, I would definitely take an ass. I would take an ass beating.
Beat up, Flup. I hear you.
Right, yeah, but my number is
not be $1,500.
Exactly. My number is much bigger than $1,500. But I'll definitely and that's you can just
I see Jacob over there. Jacobs is like 500. I see him looking at the way he brought up.
I said it. I was open about it last week. I'm like 1,500. Like, I think I'd do well in a fight. But let's say I was in it, like with my finance stats. Yeah, I'd probably take $1,500. But I don't claim to be.
Right.
I don't claim to be this rich sports bettor who's betting $1,500 apparently 1.5 units. Like, yeah, if you offer me.
That's another thing
I'm probably not showing up.
That's another thing I don't get. Claims to bet, tens of thousands,
right.
and mid 5 figures or whatnot, or high 4 figures. But 1,500 is 1.5 units. What is it?
It's like it's not like that. 1,500 is a small amount of money. It's that for him, the way he talks,
yes.
It is.
Yes,
it should be for him. That's the point. Anyways, but lots of hate to him in the comments. And a final comment here from _Arkel7374. It says, great idea to have the live NFL draft watch along. We'll definitely be watching that. Please try to get Jeff for the Chargers pick. So yes, on Forward Progress, going to be tonight, the day you're watching this, Thursday, NFL draft watch along on the Forward Progress YouTube channel at FWD Progress HQ. I just type in Forward Progress. We're big enough that you'd be able to find it there. 8 p.m. Takes by Jay. Jason Cooper going to be hosting that. Lots of special guests, including Jeff Feinberg. However, Jeff will be on the show, but we are trying to get him to be on for the Chargers pick. He refuses to be on for the Chargers pick because of how stressed he gets over the NFL draft and who they pick. You guys, football fans, do you have that level of stress when your team's picking?
I'll be on the show as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I'm hoping to get on the Jets because I'm a huge Jets fan. But what I don't understand is how can you have stress? Do we really think that us as casual fans we know more than the team? I mean, I don't know more than the Jets organization. And maybe you could say, "Oh, the Jets organization is so incompetent." Maybe I do.
There's some bad picks seems
Sure,
make
but
here and there.
how am I supposed to judge? Like, one random person is supposed to judge more than like the tens of scouts and the general manager that spend the hundreds of, if not thousands of hours on the draft. I mean, let's be real here. It's a fun experience. If you're stressed and you think your team made a mistake, I think you got to rethink things.
I would say, like when Matt Millen was running our organization and we were like the stupidest team in the history of football, the draft would stress me out a lot more because I'd be like, well, what pick are we going to do? Like when we, this is dating myself, but like when we took our third straight first round wide receiver with Mike Williams, and you're like, this is the dumbest pick in the history of the draft, among other things. And so, yeah, that now.
Well, Joey, if I do recall, I do remember a draft where they took the second art running back in like the first 12 picks and then a middle linebacker in the first round. That I don't know what your thoughts on that were, but just
my thoughts were that running back's going to be an all-pro and that linebacker will continue to develop for a great organization.
I don't recall your tweets express that same viewpoint.
We don't have any documentation of that on the show. So listen, and just like I said, I was always a Dan Campbell believer from the jump as well.
Oh yeah,
so.
I'm sure. There'd be nothing out there that would say anything else.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that I can recall.
All right, we'll move on to the next segment here. We have Cblez returning to the show after a long while here. Cblez is a pick seller that we see oftentimes on gambling Twitter. And one of the tweets recently that popped up was brought up by Frank Rambo 24 at Jason Williams I7, who's very frequently versed in gambling Twitter as well, who sent a screenshot of Cblez's lifetime VIP package of $999. And he says, what is his life expectancy? A lifetime VIP package. Who knows how long that will last? But based on some of the tweets we see from Cblez, we have to wonder if that is a profitable purchase to make. In another tweet, Cblez at BlezBet said, I average $20,000 in sports bets every single day. That's $140,000 a week, $560,000 a month, $6,720,000 in handle a year. It's great that he can do simple math. My edge is around 7% in 2025, which puts me on pace to profit $500,000. I'm not sure about that. Also had a tweet from the Indiana Pacers game in Game 1 against the Bucks. It was a minus 235 on the money line. He bet $6,000. I will give him credit because he does typically have slips for stuff, but you could argue, are there slips that we don't see? But he says, do not cash out. Caesars is offering $8,184 for a cash out on a max payout of $8,553. They're up 24 at halftime. I will gladly wait 24 minutes of basketball to collect their $368. And the final one here, most content creators are playing a character. That will never be me. I believe in authenticity. I'm the same in real life and on the internet. Content creators, content characters, he says, are always short-lived because they need to think what their character would do, say. How do we feel on the Cblez? Not a character. I would call him a character, but apparently not a character. How do we feel about Cblez here, Flup?
But,
yeah, go ahead. You're ready to go.
No, I was just going to say, content creators are short-lived. This guy had like the shortest living run in the history of like gambling Twitter. He was on it in like 3 days, and then he like the same shtick, and nobody gave a shit after that. So I don't even know why we're talking about this idiot now. I thought of the rundown. It's like, I don't give a shit. This guy, you know what else bothers me? Is he's in the, I'll call it the circle of Perry, where like if you start putting some like dots together around this, like, the space where like he's at the Perry fight, he's using the same type of shtick to try and build himself up. He's buying followers on other apps. I listen. I don't know why this guy bothers me more than most. But it's like the lamest shtick ever to try and with the thing that he was using, and it was so dead. It was like not funny. It's like we can talk about the species, whatever shtick they're using, but if it's entertainment, you know what? I think there's whatever it can be, cost of entertainment. This guy is the worst. Not funny, not original, lame shtick, obvious scammer. Get him out. Last time he's on circle back until unless someone kills him in a ring or something.
Well, I hate to keep the streak going, but I have to agree with Joey again here.
Wow.
Blez is very annoying. And I think something else we didn't talk about, I found funny, is the lifetime package. This reminds me of the Pope bet for 6 years. We don't know when we need, like you said, what's his life expectancy. We don't know how long it lasts. And then another thing I wanted to point out is this has always irked me a little bit, but as a pro bettor or as like a bettor with an edge, in theory, you should not know if you're going to ever be able to make another bet again. Tomorrow, I could wake up and the market could be completely efficient and I could have no more bets. And if I'm truly a profitable bettor and have an edge, I would not be able to make a bet because there's no more bets there. So to say that you can, just for him to do that math, it shows a lack of understanding, because how do you know if the market isn't going to increase efficiency? Now, obviously, it'll never be that extreme, but maybe his bets go down a little bit. My bets have gone down for over periods of time and then gone back up because the market's gotten more and less efficient.
All the signs point towards this being a losing matter. If you buy picks from this guy,
yes.
maybe there is no saving you, and there's no point of even trying to save you at this point.
Yeah, they talked about it a lot earlier in the B team, but he uses a lot of like sharp lingo or language, so you think he's good, but if you really think about it and you dive a little deeper, you realize
what, like algorithm.
Yeah, no. Like he said CLV, but he said like CLV stuff before. Like, if you look at some of these spaces, they'll get those touts up and they'll be like, "What's CLV?" That should be like your number one sign.
Or what's your edge, and then they don't have an
exactly. So he can at least, Cblez can at least answer some of those. But if you dive just a little bit deeper, not winning.
Yeah. And I mean, these lifetime packages, like, who's to say he can't just disappear tomorrow? And
yes, that's usually what happens with somebody offering a lifetime package, is they're trying to get something from you, and then a year and a half later, when they're totally bust, you never see the person again.
I don't think he's gonna. I don't think that's what it is. But it's just like
it could be.
Right, it could be, and you don't know.
I've seen it happen to other people.
Right, there's no guarantee that he sticks around for so long. What if he gets bored in 7 years and quits? Did you get your expected value or whatnot?
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on to our next topic in just a second here. We'll interrupt for a word from one of our sponsors here on the channel. Ever had your deposit blocked right before a big bet? Ever needed cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables, but you hit your ATM limit? Listen, I've had experiences like this, so I'm sure you have had them as well. You never know when you're going to get that message about a big edge somewhere. You've got to fill your account quickly before it evaporates, and you just can't get that money in there in time. Your bank blocks your deposit. Maybe you get the deposit through, but it takes 30 minutes for that deposit to process, and all of a sudden, you can't get down on that huge edge that you wanted. Well, that situation arises no more with EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. EdgeBoost gives you fast, reliable access to your funds, making it easier to move money when and where you need it, without the delays that can come with traditional banks. For you high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your EdgeBoost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works 24/7 for instant deposits. Never wait for a wire to clear again. It gets better. Every time you deposit into qualified gambling accounts, you earn cash back rewards up to 0.5%. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. EdgeBoost is a debit account that makes it easy to get started with no credit checks, no minimum balance, and no usage fees. Simply verify your identity and you're ready to go. Finally, EdgeBoost is a suite of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll and make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to www.edgeboost.bet. That's www.edgeboost.bet, or just go to the link in the description and sign up to EdgeBoost today. Before we jump into our next topic as well, hey, if you're enjoying the show, you've made it this far, you definitely are enjoying, make sure you do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for shows like this typically Tuesday and Friday, one day early today because of the NFL draft, as we said, but plenty of great content on Circles Off. If you're listening in podcast form, take a moment to rate and review 5 stars as well. It makes a huge difference to helping us grow our brand. All right, next topic here comes from Sbinfluencer, who we've featured a lot on Circleback in the past, but there was a new serious post that came out from Sbinfluencer. So Sbinfluencer, known for kind of doing like similar to what this show does in the way of calling out the worst of the worst from gambling Twitter, not afraid to call people out who are scamming and things of that nature. But a serious post here, I'll read it out. I lost my job last week due to my former company downsizing. I'm going to be fine, but maybe this is a blessing in disguise for me to branch out and take sports betting content more seriously. If you have any interest in working together, whether it's podcast appearance, brand management, social media marketing, etc., please feel free to reach out to me in the DMs. Let's schedule a time to talk this week. Now, the people that he's called out in the past had some fun with this, tap dancing on his grave. Taylor Mathis, who had some beef. Taylor Mathis, who gives out picks, the famous / infamous walking bet segment, who has had her fair share of controversies, especially with Sbinfluencer, said previously from winning a poll in the Novik influencer bracket, good always prevails over evil after she had to go extensively into her arsenal of followers to beat out an account in Sbinfluencer that had 5,000 followers. I thought that was amazing. But then quote tweets that after Sbinfluencer got canned, and it says, LOL, and I was right. Also tweeted this. This tweet got deleted. Thank you to Clive Bixby for screenshotting it. Thank you, Clive. Says, the karma of this, I would never root for the downfall of anyone, even though that's exactly what she just did, or for anyone to be unemployed, which she kind of just did. This guy made a page based on hating sports content creators, exposing them. Now he's going to take content more serious. How ironic. So in this scenario, the good that Taylor Mathis came to, the good person in this side of it apparently is Taylor Mathis, who at worst had involvement in promoting a crypto scam in her name. That's at best, sorry. At best, had involvement in promoting a crypto scam in her name. At worst, orchestrated such a crypto scam. So the good, I'm not sure. Amanda Vance also had something to say here. Amanda Vance with the Amanda Wins website, who sells picks. I would say, and many others say, these are not winning picks and they're losing picks, and this is a scam, but also was tap dancing a little bit on Sbinfluencer's grave, saying that the irony is real. And then some other people had some fun with it. Scott's said, I will pay you $10K right now to delete your account forever. Up the bid to $20K, and right before we started this recording, Kanji, CANZZZZHI, showed my Canadian there, YE, I'll add 10K, 30K to delete your account, never tweet again, in parentheses, your annual EV on futures being the 30K. I'll start with this. Listen, I like the Sbinfluencer page. Listen, Sbinfluencer, you want to get more into content creation? That's great. I honestly would be a little surprised if you can make 30K. Prove me wrong, please. I think you'll struggle to make 30K out of content creation from Twitter. What do you? 30K seems like a pretty good price to delete your Twitter account. I don't know.
Yeah.
If
I would delete the account immediately if I was.
Yeah, that's like if you're jobless and the only guy got like 5,000 followers. Pull the trigger! Pull the trigger for giving you 30.
Spencer does say he's fine financially. He's not in a position of peril. That's not what I'm suggesting this, but like, I think the EV of this account is not $30,000.
No. Also, I'm gonna be honest with you here. The seeing this post got like the cringe. Like I shivered a bit here.
I saw your reply.
I was like, oh no, yeah, like this. Listen, the internet rule. Feinberg talks about the rules of the internet. If you're gonna make a page like shitting on other people, which I got some entertainment out of. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't mind the page at all. You don't want to then post your real life downfall. Because I tell you what, then you're letting all the wolves, like that. Well, there was blood in the water.
He's owned it. He's owned it. Like he's sticking up for himself in this. He knew this. I'm sure he knew this was going to happen. I'm sure he knew there'd be backlash. He probably relished that for engagement. Like no issue with that. Owning it. He's not upset that people are tap dancing on his grave or anything. But.
Jacob, that's a little bit of like Sean Perry logic there, where like all
sure
publicity. I'm not with that type of. I think you can come out and say I'm going to try and do more content or something like that without.
I probably wouldn't have done this approach.
Fair. No, me neither. I would not have said the hey. By the way, now I'm unemployed, and
it seems like more of like it's not that it is desperate, but it looks like it's a desperation attempt to venture into content rather than naturally. Okay, the page is growing, the Twitter account's growing. Let's try to up this even further. But the way in which it's laid out here, I don't know. I don't think this was the goal, but it kind of gets a sense of like, you know, are people watching out of pity almost? Like, I don't know. It's.
I feel bad for like the Amanda Vance one. That was pretty brutal. I mean, because she's so obviously selling losing picks, and I understand why he attacks her, but it's like that looks so scummy coming from her but obviously from her point of view, she's just like selling winning picks and she's not doing anything wrong. But
I don't think she thinks she's selling winning picks. I think that's where the problem. Anyways, continue.
Okay, fair enough. If that's the case, then it makes it even worse. The Taylor Mathis one, I kind of understand because he was more attacking like the walking bets kind of thing, and I don't get the harm in what she's doing with that. But even so, like it's pretty hypocritical for her to say, "I don't." She has downfall.
She has very publicly lost a position recently. Not a job, but like a sponsorship position with
and it's also very hypocritical for her to say like, "I don't root for the downfall," while you're rooting for the downfall. It's like, come on, like you keep tweeting like, "Oh, I was right." I mean, come on, like this is ridiculous.
And listen, for me, like. Taylor says she's not rooting people down. I do root on people's downfall. That's why I like to do this show, because I do root for people's downfall, and I do find a lot of humor in it for some people. But obviously, yes, she does too, but she doesn't own up to it. That's just crazy, especially like the evil being called like the good that she claims to be. She was heavily involved in a crypto scam in her name and rightfully got called out for it. But anyways, that story's been long exhausted at this point. 30K, I don't know. 30K seems like a pretty good.
I'd agree. If I'm him, cut the check.
Yeah, what does this entail though? Does what if he just makes a YouTube account instead? Does he have to completely go away from Twitter altogether? Can he use his own personal account, which has been also
take the money, ask questions later?
Maybe like pull a Zilbert and just get. You'll delete the account, but you'll just wait a little bit more to get the money up. To show that when Zilbert was showing the bet slip, he always was going to show it. But okay, you can play along a little bit more, get a little bit of extra money out of it. I think Sbinfluencer can get to 50K on this, and if he does,
hey, there's someone I saw a tweet just before I hopped on the show said like maybe he's smarter than all of us because he's got up to 30,000 and most of us would have taken it for 10 if they were in his shoes. So if he gets even more, maybe he's the biggest genius of gambling Twitter.
Now, as somebody who was willing to fight for 1,500, I probably wouldn't delete an account for 10K out of just sheer pride, but 20, 30K. You may not hear from me.
Well, speaking of it, I wonder how much could we pay Library to delete his account? That would be something I'd love to know. That'd
be an interesting test. I would not be able to take part, but I would love to see some offers be thrown out from Sportsbook. There are worse accounts to ask to pay to have them delete their account than Sbinfluencer. I like the Sbinfluencer account. I think some good content could come out of this. I'm not sure it'll make $30,000. It's content creation's tough. I do it myself on the side of the hammer stuff. It's a lot of work especially when there's not a lot of reward. So, is it an investment of? Okay, if I make content creation full time, maybe that leads to a job that pays more than $30,000 because that's what it was to me. That's how I got in contact with Rob, doing my own content up front. So maybe that's the direction. Yeah, I'm not sure. But
whoa, are you admitting that you make more than $30,000 here? That's a big player right there.
I was gonna say.
This is my full-time job.
I'm making a joke.
I was gonna say, wait, we might have to have some.
It's just like what I'm saying is when I started creating YouTube content. Yes, I thought, okay, maybe there's a little bit of money here, but more so it was just basically a portfolio of my capabilities in content creation, which helped me land the job. Maybe that.
And now you're doing a gossip show with,
and now I'm living the dream. I get to talk
out.
to Joey Knish and Chris Dierkes once a week about the latest gossip on Twitter. On gambling Twitter. Who knew this would be my life, but enjoying it along the way. All right, we'll move on to the chopping block, bringing the chopping block to the A-team over here. Got a few tweets mixed in here. First of all, I wish we had Nadu for this one, because Mike Vivian called him out on Twitter. Said, highlight of this episode, which was the last week episode, was Nadu not listening to anything Knish said regarding big money line favorites and repeating everything he said. Nadu, well, the photo here, because Nadu got mad, and I think he called Mike Viv a douche. Mike Viv found the video, clipped in and said, now there's a video version even better. It appears that Nadu is dozing off. But again, I am a moron, so don't laugh, please. And it's a video of Nadu looking like he might be dozing off. Here's a photo here of him with his eyes closed as Knish was talking. Now listen, I know Knish might get a little bit boring from time to time, but I don't know. I don't think Nadu was dozing off. What he was doing was probably texting, and then I did notice in the episode he kind of repeated what was said.
Yes.
But, you know, he just wanted to share his opinion, which I guess is fine as well. But Knish, what do you think on this?
No, you know what? As we were recording last week, I was like, it like crossed my mind. It was like, didn't I just say that? Like, it was like literally about Fezzik betting like college basketball, like long faves. And then they do was like, even Fezzik. I was like, what? But, listen, I love Mikey V. The clip, I don't know, it's like fucking hilarious. Cause like for a second there, it does look like he's kind of dozing off. Maybe that this is the, Nadu, hashtag Nadu, we're cutting into his nap time here with the recording time. So I don't know.
Maybe that's why. Maybe the internet down is really a code for Nadu nap time.
Yeah. Or like I
maybe
drank
the show runs long because Knish always makes us start late and cuts into that's his nap time.
That's right. Yeah, he was trying to get to bed early, and you know what? It was my fault.
I know. I like Nadu, but this was pretty funny from Vivian.
Yeah, no,
Vivian takes the W on this one for me.
I think if Nadu was here, because he can't defend himself here, he'd probably like own up to just being on his phone, not paying attention to that, and repeating what he said. But yes, a fun catch there from Mike Vivian, who finds a lot of fun catches like that from the shows. Next comment here comes from, or tweet here comes from Ryan Ribeiro, Ryan_Ribeiro. Zootopia 2 has better odds to win Best Picture at the Oscars than the Dallas Cowboys do to win the Super Bowl. It's a screenshot of the Cowboys plus 7,500 to win the Super Bowl. Zootopia 2 plus 6,500 for Best Picture at the 98th Academy Awards. Oh boy, I wish Rob was here to talk about his Cowboys here, but as funny as it is, when I see tweets like this, unfortunately the fun is stripped out just because like I know there's so much of a house edge on like a Best Picture market that like if you actually devig this, Zootopia doesn't have as good of odds. It's like, well, let's go back to like the aliens invading Earth thing where it's like all right, you know what a better example is? When this drives me fucking crazy. When an NBA account will post the odds of like Joel Embiid's next team and the Raptors are favored, but it doesn't include the Sixers. It's if he leaves the Sixers. So people, because I do Raptors kind of be like, the Raptors have because it's like plus 400, the Raptors have a 25% chance of landing Joel Embiid or whatever. I'm like, no. They have maybe a 0.0001% chance of getting him. But if he does leave the Sixers, then it becomes this percentage. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Flup.
It's a very good point. And not to be a dick, but plus 400 is 20%, not 25%.
I knew I was going to get it right. As soon as I said it, I knew it was going to be.
I got to get it before Mike Vivian tweets it.
Yeah.
Jacob can't do basic math,
after I made fun of Cblez, and I got roasted last week for talking about betting as well. Anyways,
I personally love tweets like this because it's just like it's just funny. Like you don't have to think. It's not some deep meaning or anything like that. It's just funny. It's probably not the most accurate because, like you said, the lines are kind of fake and don't really mean much at this far out, but. it's still hilarious to me to think about. And, as a Jets fan, I can only imagine how much worse we are than the Cowboys. So.
Have you guys seen that? I don't even know. This is the first time I've ever heard of that movie. Like when I saw the.
I actually did not know. I mean, maybe it's coming out.
Me neither.
Yeah.
The next one.
So this could be. Is this a new way to originate? You watch a movie and then you go and bet on it, depending on how good it is. That's
This movie comes out in November. If you got I guess would any people from the Academy have a pre-screening of it? Because I guess you could maybe go into a movie and go, that was way better than it was supposed to be. Maybe there's
exactly.
actually a little bit of CLV betting this. I don't know. There's probably such a big house edge that you can't get a good price on it. But I don't know. Maybe there's an edge in the movie business for stuff like this. Also, stuff like this. Another example is when a Chinese basketball team becomes one of the top 4 favorites for the next team for an NBA player. It's he has a 10% chance of ending up in China. That kind of stuff. I don't know. It just frustrates me. I don't know why. It just does. Anyways, next one up here from Book It Trent. Probably the biggest mush on Twitter. He says, on April 16th, I bet my entire net worth Vladdy doesn't go yard today. It was the 17th game of the season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had yet to hit a home run, and it was becoming now all of a sudden, people were like, okay, at a certain point, you should just maybe bet this. Is it too good of a price for Vladdy to hit a home run? Of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits his first home run of the season the same day Book It Trent tweets this. I found it especially funny because I was one of the people who had, I'll pass post here, but I had Vladimir Guerrero to hit a home run that day, which made it even funnier. But how does he keep doing this? How does he keep finding ways to do this?
I love that. I'm going to take this just in a random direction. Is that Trent plays this, character kind of lovable loser thing that the one person that actually got him to crack was Zilbo. Zilbo annoyed him so much that he actually went back at him in an angry, totally outside of his normal tweet structure and tone. I listen. This is a little Castellanos-ish from Trent, but his main thing. But credit. I know the other show got most of this, but I was thinking of that when they were discussing it. That the guy's been playing the same role on Twitter for years, and the one person that got him to actually break and say something negative was Zilbo.
Yeah, I think Trent's hilarious. I love his character. So it's just so funny. He's the kind of person that losing better that you don't mind losing with, and people tailing because everyone knows it's so obvious, and he admits it himself, and it's just a hilarious stick. And it's kind of like what you said, Jacob, earlier. You don't mind betting a negative EV for the memes or for the fun, and this is a great opportunity.
I didn't bet this after.
No. I'm talking about when you said for the
I was gonna. That's the comparison for the Castellanos. I want to put out there. I didn't bet Vladdy home run because Trent tweeted this and reverse, mush. I'm gonna be on opposite side of Trent. I had it already because I thought it was a good price, and then this tweet came out, which it does make me feel a little bit better, I guess, being on the opposite side of Trent for a bet, no doubt. Next one up. Speaking of home run bets, DK_DFS DK here posted, if I see one more home run lotto on the timeline, I'm gonna play in traffic. Thank God it's Friday. And then there was a reply here from somebody saying, stop hating. Came across a few of last week's Rio recaps. You can clearly see the brother has an edge. A very sarcastic tweet because it is a screenshot of countless losers on home run bets with one winner in there. Marcelo Zuna, home run, 1.41 units. And the locksmith replied, at BetLocksmith, I already know that Ozuna play got shouted from the rooftops, even though it was the only winner on the sheet. And then the first reply is a screenshot of Rio Stays True victory lapping the one bet that did hit on Marcelo Ozuna to hit a home run. That is all time. That is all time from a pick seller showcasing here, sells picks on WAP. It's all-time strategy, Knish.
I mean, this is peak. The fact that they were able to have the actual recap and then he tweets about it anyway. This is every single Discord, WAP, Dub. I mean, this is a strategy, right? You throw a bunch of shit at the wall with like home run parlays or SGPs or any of that stuff. The one hits, and then it's like crack. It's like cracked. It's like throwing it out there. That bait. People are like, oh, I got to get in. I got to get that next one. So, yeah, I mean, this is like the fact they were able to actually get it documented, though, very enjoyable.
I don't want to repeat what you just said, like Nanu did. But it's so funny that every single SGP, Twitter tout is the same in this.
It's the same route over and over and over and over again.
And I don't understand how people keep falling for it. Like, if you bet 15 10-1s and one of them hits, you lost money, even though you won 10 units on that one bet. Like, it's not that hard to figure out, and just keep a little bit of record keeping. And then I don't want to. The SGP Vic guy that he's been on the Spaces, he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And he would argue, but if you hit it, if you win for 200 units, you can lose for so many days. Well, not if you're firing like 10 units a day.
Right, right.
It works. Obviously, it does work because somebody will see this guy nailed this home run bet at $333. Like, maybe I should tail him. And obviously, it works. It's scummy. We get to call them out on shows just like this one. The next one here comes from Prop Bomb, at Prop Bomb, who has actually been a guest on this network on the Board YouTube channel, pick seller on Dub Club. And he says, Orlando matches up really well versus Boston leading into the playoffs and got absolutely buried for this one. We have one from Quan with a KW, a bunch of O's and N, who posts a series betting price, Celtics minus 8,000. Orlando plus 2,200. It wasn't the only person to showcase a screenshot of the market as well. Can a team match up well against somebody else and also be a humongous underdog in this series? What do you think, Flup?
I love this kind of thing. When people that aren't involved in gambling and don't understand how odds work and like, this is a tough matchup. And then it's just like, they're 3% to win the series. You're just like, sure. Maybe if they didn't match up better, they'd be 2%, but it's still a massive underdog. What are we talking about here? I love it when this kind of happens. This is my favorite kind of dunking.
This reminded me. I bet like when I saw this in the rundown, I bet one future. I'll usually take maybe a handful in the summer. Bet one future this NBA offseason before the season actually started. And it was the Orlando Magic to win the Eastern Conference at 40-1. And now we're a minus 8,000 dog in round one. I had to win the play-in. So was thinking that. I remember I just looked at the odds before they were like 300-1 to win the East. So yeah. So hey, 40-1 still live. And hopefully by the time this comes out, series will be evened up, baby.
Yeah, did you victory lap that one prematurely at all when the Orlando was like the 3 or 4 seed in the early part of the season with Banchero missing games as well?
Well, I was
probably like, oh, look at this position.
Right, was like, oh baby, we got a chance. It's gonna be a top 3 team in the East. And then you know what? It didn't work out like we thought.
Yeah, it turns out when your best player makes your team worse statistically, it puts your team in a tough spot to succeed in the NBA. But
I watched about like 3 minutes of game one and was like, oh, this series is over. Like this team has absolutely no chance.
Sorry to do that to you, Prop Bomb, but you got buried for that one.
I do have Magic plus 10.5 tonight, so I'm rooting for you, Joey.
All right, hey. We'll see if they are back in this series. But that is it for us on Circle Back. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into yet another episode here a day early. Hopefully it didn't inconvenience you too much, but the content's so good. Maybe you do want it a day in advance to keep satisfied. But if you did enjoy, you made it to the end of the episode, please make sure you do smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel as well for more content just like this. We'll be back with the other guys, including myself as producer, for the Tuesday show next week. As always, back to normal time for this show on Friday. So much great content. You need to hit the notification bell. Make sure you rate, review 5 stars if you're listening in audio form. And check out our NFL Draft watch along with Takes by Jay, Jason Cooper, and tons of special guests for that one. 8 p.m. tonight for, again, the NFL Draft. We'll see you again next time.